when I was writing my book, I don't know how it came up, but something bubbled up to the surface about, and I'll never forget this. You said you thought that I lived at the airport.
Mm.
And that was like, that was horrible. I
I mean,
mean,
you
that
just,
for me, that was like, this is like not
right.
good.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special Mother's Day edition of Duke's Download. I'm your host, James Duke Mason, and this week I have the incredible honor of sitting down with a woman who has been my biggest supporter, my loudest cheerleader, and my constant source of unconditional love, my mom, the legendary Belinda Carlisle.
I love that intro. Thank you.
Thank you for doing this, Mom. I'm going to give a little context, but those who don't know, you've rocked stages with the Go-Go's to building a life that balanced fame, family, and personal challenges. You've shown me, what strength, resilience, and real motherhood looks like. And this episode is all about our relationship, the laughs, the lessons, the coming out moments, the moves across countries, and everything in between. Mom, thank you for being here and for always making our family feel like the greatest.
Oh, well, thank you. That touches me. Thank you so much.
I've interviewed you a few times, but obviously with Mother's Day coming up, I wanted to talk to you again. It's been a few years since we last did one of our conversations online. Wanted to ask you, because I've asked you a lot of the same questions before, so I thought I would try to make it a little bit more, shake it up a little bit, ask some maybe
Okay.
unexpected questions.
Okay.
To this day, you always say I'm your baby, even though I'm turning 34 tomorrow, which is crazy.
Right.
What was the moment that made you realize that motherhood was going to change everything for you? And did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
Well, I mean, there's two questions. Okay. Let's go to the first part of the question. I think I knew that it would change my life when I found out I was pregnant, actually. And I was on a promotional trip for my album, Live Your Life, Be Free. And I had a feeling that I just felt a little bit off. So I went and got a pregnancy test and it was positive. And I was like, oh my God, my life. And I didn't think it would be over, of course, but I knew it would be different. I didn't know how it was going to be different. Um, and, I mean, as you know, I'm the oldest of 7 children.
Mhm.
So my father left when I was about 5 years old. So I was always the caretaker of, my mom did the best she could, but I was old enough to change diapers and to feed my younger brother and sister, which I did for quite a few years, actually. Actually, I would say up until my teens, because my mom, she remarried Big Duke. And even then, I was still doing it. So I wasn't sure, to be honest, whether I wanted to be a mother or not, because I had been, a mother with or a mother figure with my younger brothers and sisters. So, but I knew that was something. At the same time, I knew it was something I didn't want to miss out on, and I knew it from women my age who had children saying it's like the most amazing thing. And it actually ended up being probably the most amazing moment in my life was giving birth.
Well, thank you. I mean, because you had a lot of amazing moments.
That's
Um,
true.
what you bring up your dad or your stepfather, my grandfather, Big Duke. I don't know if I've ever asked you before. I know you talked about it in other places, but what when did you decide, or what was the moment where you decided to name me after him? Because I'm named after both of my grandfathers, after my dad's dad, James, and after your dad. But would you remember the moment when you decided that that was going to be to honor him after all the struggles you'd been through with him as a kid, but then when you got older, you decided to make amends in some way or try to,
Well, I mean, I think my dad and I made amends, because as you know, he was a terrible alcoholic, and you know, uh, it was tough being his stepchild, very tough. Um, but he stopped drinking. Let's see. Um, before I met Dad, he stopped drinking, and he was a totally different person. And he apologized in his own way. I mean, you know, that was a whole different generation. They didn't talk much about the mistakes they made, where they weren't that open.
Mhm.
Um, but he made amends in his own way, and I mean, he did do the best. I know it sounds cliche, but he did do the best that he could do given the circumstances.
Mhm.
Um, but I think when I found out I was pregnant, I mean, I thought you were a girl up until, I was, the baby shower was like, it's a girl. Um, and,
Roseanne Barr hosted my baby shower, didn't she?
well, she was there, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think she hosted it. I don't remember.
I was just a random
But
pop culture.
I think it was Andrea Burnham and Janine, and Roseanne might have been part of it too. Um,
After all this stuff happened with her, and I told people that I was like, that we were like, wow, that's unexpected.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
it was a different
But that
person.
was when her show was on, and it was a huge hit or
Yeah,
whatever.
it was different.
Um, and then we had to switch gears after the shower,
Mhm.
and then when I got an ultrasound, it was like, yeah, no, it's not a girl, it's a boy. Yeah, it's a little thing sticking out.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Was aside from that, what was the surprise about being a mom? Do you remember any moments when you were like, "This is either what I expected or not what I expected," or was it what you expected before it actually occurred?
I well, I had a rough well, I want to go back to you almost were Maximilian and
Mhm.
Oliver. Maximilian and
Oliver, I remember
Maximilian
Oliver.
and Oliver. But the thought that James Duke had a really nice ring to it.
Mhm.
Now, as far as pregnancy and being a mom, I had I was sick every single day, every single day. I had a really rough pregnancy, and just like a smell would set me off, and I would be sick. And I carried a bottle of vinegar in my purse and poured vinegar over, over everything. It was when I craved. So
Maybe that's
that
why I
was
love
pretty funny.
Victor so much.
I mean, everybody else that I knew that had gone through pregnancy had a, very sort of easy time compared to me. So, and then I had this order that where I think it was called placenta previa. Anyway, I don't know what it was, but I was really sick, and they confined me to bed. So, I was in bed. I weighed like 1,000,000 pounds because I was just like water. I retained so much water. And then and I had all sorts of health problems, bad ones. And then on the day that you were born, I just thought I just didn't feel very well, and I didn't know why I didn't feel well, but I just had instinctively I thought I should go to the doctor, even though I did not feel like even getting in the car or even getting up and walking. And thank God I did, because I forgot what had happened, but you needed to come out immediately. So before you came out, I went down to the burrito truck at Cedar Sinai, and I didn't know you weren't supposed to eat before, you had surgery. And I walked in with a huge burrito, and they were like, "What are you doing?" So
Didn't know that.
anyway, they rushed me into the emergency room, and you were born, and you were born on the day of the LA riots. So
Mhm.
that wasn't normal either. And that was really scary because the whole city had curfews. You could smell smoke in the ICU. You were in ICU for like a month. I think
Mhm.
it was like a month. And they
Yep.
weren't even sure whether you were going to make it or not. And that was because of my illness that I had. So I remember the doctor saying something stupid like, "Don't expect a football player." And I was like, it's not really what I want, to be perfectly honest. So anyway, you got through it all, and
Mm.
yeah, and then you ended up being this healthy little boy, and a healthy adult. But it was touch and go for a while.
I mean, I was funny because I'm so large now, but back then I was so small. It was
You
tiny.
were only 3 pounds,
Wow. I
like
mean,
three
it's
pounds 13 ounces. I mean, you were so tiny. And I remember Pamela coming to the ICU, and I could just see her face, like, "Oh, he doesn't look he's going to make it." So, yeah, it was very traumatic. The whole birth, because of the riots, and you know the whole city was closed down. You could smell smoke in the ICU. Beverly Center, across the street from Cedars, which Beverly Center is a mall, was, I mean, partially on fire. So it was really a stressful time. But when I went after you were birthed, and I was high on whatever they give you. I mean, I was like loopy, and I was watching the monitor with the guy being the truck driver. Remember that the whole start of the whole riots
yeah,
was he was pulled out of the his truck, and
yeah.
he was beaten up. But that was the beginning of you know a real sort of terrible time for Los Angeles.
No, I mean, it was quite a start. And I remember you telling me the story about when you put Welcome to the Jungle, Guns N' Roses on the radio when
Yeah,
I
I
was
don't know what
born.
I was thinking of that in my
Well,
mind. Yeah. I
perfect,
mean, yeah,
perfect
yeah, but it
metaphor.
actually is kind of perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. We've lived in so many places. Obviously, I was born in LA. When I was 2, we moved to France. We lived in France, England, back to France. And then I left at 18 when you guys were still living in France. But since then, you've lived in uh, Morocco, Austria,
Thailand.
Thailand, Mexico. What are some of what is or these are so many, but what is one of your favorite memories of our family adventures together? And how do you think those moves around the world shaped who I became?
Well, I think that, well, your formative years were in France. I mean, France was really, really good to us as a family. And um, I have the most amazing, like, memories that I hold in my heart of those years of living. We lived in Cap Antibes, and he moved to the countryside, which was amazing. I mean, it was very rural. You hated it because it was very provincial,
Yeah.
and for you, it was difficult because as a gay teen, and not come at before you came out. I'd come up at late at night and walk past your room, and the light was on. You were on Facebook, but I didn't know that was your lifeline to other teens, and other queer people. So I I think that living there, I mean, for me and for you probably too, I would think that it made you realize that, well, it gave you the ability to have a worldview.
Mhm.
And I know of myself is I don't have the American blinders on, that it's just not all about America. It's about the world, because everything is connected. So I think that that's a big gift that France gave both of us, living overseas. And I mean, I haven't. We went back briefly to try to. We thought we'll go back to LA. And maybe it's time to go home after you left France. I mean, you were on that plane the next morning after graduation. You were like, I am out of here. And I don't think you liked it very much, but I think that I kept telling you that you're going to realize one day um, the gifts that growing up in a foreign country has given you, which you did,
Yeah.
and which I think you realize that now. I mean, to be able to speak a foreign language, I mean, that's, even though you don't use it, I mean, it's an amazing thing to have, to pull it. It's a
Really.
good party trick, at the very least.
Yeah.
So,
I'm so
but
grateful.
yeah, I think having a worldview is a really important gift.
What are some real quickly? I won't make you extrapolate too much, but when you, I don't know if I've ever asked you this. Is there one memory, like in particular, when you think about all of our years living abroad or growing up, is there one memory or two memories in particular that you look back on and go, that was fun? Uh
I remember because I had this, my favorite car in the whole world I got to own. You know, my
oh.
1973, the brown, we called it the brown turd. It was a 1973 DS23 Citroen, which is very exotic. You don't see them at all in the States, but there's like the classic French sedan, uh, four-door sedan. I mean, people actually stopped to watch when they put the key in the ignition and the hydraulic system, the
I
car
remember
lifts
that.
up. But I remember when when
Uh-oh.
taking her to school and I would put on like
Snow White and the Seven
Snow White and the
Dwarfs.
Seven Dwarfs and go hi ho hi and like pull into the school and you'd be, Mom, stop, 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 and you'd freak out.
I remember
And
that very well.
I remember Coffin Man too. That
Oh,
wasn't. There was like a man that lived inside the glove compartment of the brown turd, and I called him Coffin Man. And you were like, I could say, if you don't behave, I'm gonna let Coffin Man out. And you go, no, no, no. Anyway, it was all in fun, but
I remember you driving
maybe
me
it
to
was,
school.
huh?
I remember you driving me to school and playing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on
The
the
soundtrack,
radio. Yeah, you were
Bla- blasting, like
blessed.
blasting out the windows.
The last thing a 12-year-old boy wants when he's being dropped off at school. But but it was cute. In hindsight, you were, that's the thing is, I know you've said before that you felt, like you worried or felt like you were gone too much. But to me, I remember you being very present. You were very,
Well,
you were like, if anything, you were a very hands-on mom as far as
when
I.
I tried to be when I was home, but I remember something that really hit me, and it was really, really painful. Is that, and I didn't even like, memories are so weird, and there's a lot of things that we can't access memories. I mean, some things are just forgotten and
Mhm.
probably forgotten forever. But when I was writing my book, I don't know how it came up, but something bubbled up to the surface about, and I'll never forget this. You thought that I lived at the airport.
Mm.
And that was like, that was horrible. I
I mean,
mean, that
because
for me, that was like, this is like not
but I
good,
promise you, I never felt like you were, absent or distant, or I mean, I remember you going on tour or whatever, but I don't remember having any sort of, negative connotation with that. So,
And I think another thing that I love what we used to do is I used to take you on those trips that we used to drive to like the Western France and go up into the mountains and I mean, you were bored shitless, but but we did have fun during
you did.
or going to the snow. We'd go drive to Isola du Mille, which is up in the French
Alps.
the mountains between France and Italy. But and I remember like going into Nice and taking you shopping with me.
So I remember us going to like San Remo in Italy and driving
Oh
there.
yeah, San Remo.
I
Yeah,
never, I have a lot of fond memories about
France was was really, I mean, um,
going to
France
Monaco.
was really really good to our family, and there's a different, they live in a different way than they live differently.
Hmm.
Um, where it's I'm not saying that Americans don't celebrate life, but they celebrate. There's a lot of deprivation. People are, deprive themselves of a lot of things because they think they need to be that way. But in France, they celebrate food. They celebrate everything. They celebrate life. So that taught me because I was, I had some neuroses that I had needed to deal with, disorders that moving to France cured me of that.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I think it was. I mean, I hope that you look back on those years and realize that they were really special and important.
No, I do. I do. I mean, now having now been in America for, full time for 16 years almost, which is crazy. I definitely appreciate now having had that international experience for sure. We've talked a lot about my coming out story, so I don't want to like rehash the same old. Even though I love to talk about myself and talk about I mean it's a great story. It's on YouTube. Those of you who want to hear the full extended story, my mom and I have done a bunch of interviews about it for P-Flag and other places. But um, I wanted to ask you about before I came out, when you and I think we've talked about this a little bit too, but I thought this would be a funny way of framing it. I remember you showing me some movies. Like I remember I was like 12 or 13. You showed me Email Trouble.
I didn't really,
Geraldine
I mean,
Flamingo.
I
You
mean, well, I love John
showed me
Waters,
some
but
queer
that
films
probably
before.
isn't very good. I mean, after when it came, when, I mean, Female Trouble is one of my favorite films, but I forgot that there's things that aren't really child friendly on that. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. I can't believe that I'm actually have this on. I think I wanted to turn it off, but
Well, what I think is funny is that without, I mean, maybe you did know it. I know you've said you didn't really know or think about whether I was gay or not beforehand, but you showed me like not just John Waters, but you also showed me like Julie Newmar and the original Batman, from the Adam West, which was super campy. So it was almost like you were giving me the knowledge and tools about camp and gay culture and all that I would need later in life. But
I don't know. I don't know whether I gave it to you. It's part of me anyway,
yeah,
because
also,
I mean, I always say that all my friends from when I was like a young teen to even present day were always gay and lesbian. Always, always, always,
it's
always.
fun.
I should say queer.
I don't think I mentioned it to you. I forgot what event I was at, but I was at an event recently, and someone came up to me and said, do you remember Jack Pinson? And
Yeah.
Uncle Jack, he was one of your best friends. He's sadly passed away 10 years ago, but he was one of the first gay people I ever met. That I vividly remember, you know, that making
Right.
that connection. But I think he was the one that sent you a lot. I would send you like videotapes of like old TV shows and stuff, and like movies and just camp classics.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
And he was one of
um,
those people that were one of your close
he was
friends.
always around and he took care of me when I was working sometimes
I
too,
remember.
when we were traveling, because he would travel with me. But yeah, he was, yeah. I remember there's some footage of when I did Howard Stern once and you were so obnoxious. Oh my God. And I
Me, I
couldn't like,
remember that.
yeah. And I couldn't like calm you down. And he was like, I was like, take him away, please.
I
But
remember
yeah, it
that
was,
footage. I found that footage online. Remember, like a year or two ago, and it's on YouTube of me and you and me and Howard Stern.
I didn't even know what to do.
I was pretty obnoxious. I will say.
Oh,
I have to admit.
not all the
Uh,
time, but you were very precocious. And I remember like traveling with you. Whenever we'd go to, we traveled a lot together. I would take you with me whenever I had to go to a place that I thought was something you had to see, like
yeah.
historical places without,
Yep.
But I remember once being in Milan and I was working and I was checking into a hotel and something was annoying or whatever. And you said, out loud in the lobby to the front desk, my mom says this is a shit place. So I was like, okay, yeah. Everybody thought it was
I
funny.
was a very outspoken kid. That's for sure.
Very precocious, very outspoken. You didn't hold
I had some
back.
good unintentional good lines where I would just express, share my thoughts on various
Yeah,
different things. And, we've had our share over the years of tumultuous moments, like any mother-son duo, but we always come back to love and respect.
right.
What's one lesson you've learned from me over the years that surprised you, or that stuck with you, I guess you could say, or if not learned it from me, but sort of one piece of wisdom that you've carried from all of our experiences together as a mother.
I think that is to allow you to be your own person and allow you, I can always guide and give my opinion, but ultimately allow you to make your own choices. Sometimes that was really, really hard for me. I mean, my mom, I mean, the way I grew up very, very, Christian family. And, I was a rebel. And, my mom, I remember always trying to influence me, and it had the opposite effect, always. And I would say I was born a contrarian anyway.
Mhm.
So to remember that and to apply that when it came to you is to let you, there were lots of things that I was like horrified that you were doing or didn't agree with at all, but to let you figure it out yourself. And that was the way, and make bad decisions and decisions that, well, just may let you make like bad decisions or decisions that I wouldn't necessarily make. It's because that's the way you learn about life. And I, and sometimes I wish that I could protect you from the world and how, hurtful it can be, but that doesn't do a child any favors.
Mhm.
They have to figure that out themselves, that the world is a tough place. It's
Oh, you guys
in
have
life,
protected me plenty. I mean, you guys have
probably
definitely
too
done your best.
much, probably too
No,
much.
no. I mean, I appreciate it, but I mean, I
But
understand. I know
yeah,
what you mean, because if there's one thing that I've learned in the last few years, like I didn't really appreciate like what the expression, words don't teach, experience does,
but it's
and it's
true.
so
It's a
true.
cliche, but it's true.
It's so
That's the
true.
only way you learn. That's the only way I ever learned.
Yeah.
I
The
know,
last few years, I've had a few moments where I go, ah, okay. Like I remember being told about this, but now that it's actually happened to me, now I understand what my mom or my dad or my elders meant by
yeah,
that. And
it's
so
hard. And, you want to protect your child
yeah.
from, ever being sad or, hurt. But those are the experiences, those kind of experiences of what you learn from. You don't learn from all the happy stuff.
No, it's true. I mean, obviously I've been through a lot, and we've been through a lot, and both on many levels, personally, in the world. But given all the struggles and challenges that I've overcome and we've overcome, how do you feel seeing the person that I have become today? How do you feel? How do you feel about me now?
How, well, I think that was arrested development to be, I mean, there were things that I would have done differently. I mean, because I grew up, my family was poor. I grew up with nothing. And everything I ever had, I really earned, and my parents didn't give me anything, which was like a real gift.
Mhm.
So, of course, I wanted to be able to give my child, you, everything that I wasn't able to have as growing up. I mean, but um, I worked since I was 14 years old. And I wish that I had made you. I wish I know. What was that restaurant that was down the hill that we always go to? Not La Perrette. La Perrette, I think it was. They had fish, and I thought I'd talk to Dad and I'd say he has to get a job. I mean, he has to get a job. He has to learn about what it's like to
How
get a
old was
paycheck.
I when this happened?
I think you were like 14. I said it's time for him to go to work. It's time, but
Go to
it was
work
like, yeah,
at
but
14?
well, because I worked at 14. I mean, it's
Or
like, and
where
it
would I
taught
have
me.
worked?
Well, yeah, I wanted you to be a busboy or something, or work at McDonald's, or like just
Yeah.
know what it is to get a paycheck. But of course, I gave you. I mean, you we coddled you a little bit. So I think in a lot of ways. So I think that there was a little bit of arrested development, but I think that, and there's a lot of moments that you've had since you left home right after you graduated, you were out of there. There were things that you had to learn your way, experience in order to get to the place where you are now, which is, I think, I love how forthright you are, how you have dignity, and I think you have a good heart and a big heart, and I love seeing you thrive and doing what you love to do, and I remember like when I wasn't taking my own advice and thinking, oh, he has to get a job. Oh no, he has to go to college. I mean, that's what everybody does. They go to college, and that was like a big mistake, as you know, without going into it. But you had to take your own path. And sometimes that was really hard to have to witness, but you got to this point and you're going to be 34. And I'm very proud of you. And yeah, I love the man that you've become.
That means a lot to me. Thank you. It's true. It's been a long road, but also, there's also a cliche expression, which is also true though. What I've learned is true, which is that in fact, it was one of your Go-Go's bandmates, Jane, who said something. I think it was in the Go-Go's documentary, which I think is so true. She said, I mean, you learn things from good things happening in your life, but I think she had a point when she said, I learned almost nothing from the good things that have happened to me,
Right.
and learned all the big lessons from all the bad things and hard things.
Right.
And
It's important to experience.
I think that there's truth in that, and so I think it is true when people say you wouldn't be the person you are today if not for all the hardships you've been through. I mean, I know
That's
you.
true.
I mean, I think you were born pretty strong and pretty tough, but
Yeah,
I'm sure you feel like all the experiences you've been through in your life have taught you a lot about how to be resilient and I mean, you're probably the strongest person I've ever met.
Well, I had this weird thing. I mean, I remember when I was like 9 or 10 years old, and this is really weird. And I think this is kind of what got me through, like addictions, all sorts of like stuff that I've gone through. I mean, it's been a pretty tumultuous, thankfully since sobriety, it's been, that's 20 years now, 21 years. It's been good, but wow. But I think I remember when I was like 9 years old and I think this is what got me through things. I was able to separate myself from my higher self. And I figured out that there were two of me. There was me, which we would call the ego me, but there was something else that was like the witness.
But you actually remember thinking this back then?
I remember that. Yeah. And I remember that. I know. And I was like 9 and we were living in Burbank and I was like taking a bath and I was just realizing that, wow, there's like two of me. There's like me. And then there's like another me, which you would call, I know, according to a lot of my books that I read, like, the I or the infinite self. But I knew that. And I was able to witness myself through all those hard times. So, but I had that. And I think that came from having like a tough childhood, that being able to go out of my body and to be able to be a witness.
That's pretty amazing. Like you almost were watching your own movie, the movie of your life.
I could watch my own movie, even in the depths of addiction. I go, this is really a bad idea. And I go, it's okay. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
But through everything, and I was able to witness. But yeah, that was like an ability that I got from, I don't know how we got on that subject, but whatever.
No, it's interesting. I didn't know that. That's pretty amazing to have that sort of self-awareness and at that age. What do you, more than anything, hope that I carry with me from the way that you raised me and how you raised me? What are some of the the big lessons that you and Dad have always tried to make
Big
sure to stick
lessons.
with me, or qualities that you'd hope that I embody.
I think that you already have. I think it's the most important thing is to be kind,
Mhm.
to be kind, and but I think that that's one of the most important: kindness, compassion, empathy, and I think that those are really important qualities,
Mhm.
and I think that you embody that at the moment.
Well, thank you, Mama. When I doubt myself, what do you want me to remember?
That everything is happening for a reason, and that I mean, what I wish I had already realized, that I look back on times and pictures and photos and interviews, and I think you're perfect the way you are. Everything is perfectly everything is perfectly planned.
Mhm.
You know, everything is it's perfection. Even chaos is perfection.
Mhm. I believe that too. Um, this is a good, I was thinking this would be a good question because it's weird. I'm like a weird combination of both you and Dad. I have moments when I'm so him, and then I have other moments when I'm so you. Uh, but what part of you do you see in me? The food
I
obsession.
think the tendance it's food. We're food obsessed. I think we have a tendency to be a bit OCD.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you and I are
um,
very attached to. It's funny, Army and I, I mean, I don't want to get him to get upset at me, but he does like to take his time sometimes. He like, and I
you get your
notice,
impatience from me. I'm
yeah,
very
and I notice
impatient.
sometimes like with you and Dad, he's always like, getting ready he's in the bathroom in the mirror and like, and you're like, come on, let's go.
Do you
You
do
and I,
that?
yeah, oh yeah. You and I, like, I'm always
I
all, I'm just, I am a little, or not a little, a lot OCD. So
that's that is one quality I have in myself that I really don't like and I really could change, but I don't know if
I
that's
think it's part of why you're so together though, too, is because you have like, you
bam,
stick to
bam, bam,
your,
bam, bam.
yeah,
Come
but
on, let's go. Go, let's go, let's
you're
go, let's
more,
go.
you were probably more, more effective in your daily life and more, I mean, you get up at what, 3 in the morning and you're just all
About
day
3:30, yeah.
nonstop, go, 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 go. And not for,
Well,
not,
I get up because I have my meditation chanting practice, and
no.
I always say it takes a lot of hard work to be normal,
Yeah, I
just to
remember when I
function.
was going through a hard time a few years ago, and you said to me, which is I still think about often. It's resonating with me. He's like, it's a long story, but I was just going through a hard time, and you said to me, it takes a lot of work to wake up feeling normal. Like, given not just whatever's happening in all of our, personal lives, but the world, like it takes, when you wake up, you can't just wake up and expect to, every day to be, you know, happy and like joy, carefree, whatever. Like it
Well,
takes, and
I expect it. I do expect it.
what
I do
expect,
expect it. You know, because
expect what?
expect that every day is expect that every day is going to be a good day
Well,
because
I think
putting it out there. Yeah.
maybe expect the best, but like prepare for the worst. Meaning, like, no, but like do everything where when you're like, and I'm still at the beginning of my self care journey,
Adulthood.
whatever you want to call it. But in the last couple years, I've been a lot better about whether it's meditating, therapy, taking supplements. I'm sort of beginning to discover that whole world of like,
It's
especially as
important
I
to take
go.
care of yourself.
Yeah.
You have to
But
take
like
care of yourself.
you make a really intentional, you spend like a lot of time every single day on, your self-care and like your mental, physical, spiritual, all of that, and
Yeah.
then, so that's something you said, like I texted, you said it, I do a lot to make sure that I
Two
feel,
hours a day, 2 hours a day, every
okay.
day.
Yeah.
But I feel I mean, and I'm still impatient. That's the one thing I wish I could. I'm better because so I try to go, okay, you're impatient, accept whatever. But But yeah, I mean, for the most part, if I didn't have my practice, I think it's important. You know, for me, I would be off the charts crazy, really.
Well, you've definitely mellowed out a lot. I mean, there are some funny memories of traveling with you, and you're definitely a lot more mellow than you used to be. Like, you used to have
Great, thanks.
not with me, but like, you didn't have much patience for BS. Let's put it that way.
No, well, I know. Well,
And
that's
I've
not a
seen,
good quality,
yeah,
but I have that. I mean, it's not a good quality, and it's a quality that I have. So
well,
it's just the
yeah.
way I was. Maybe it's a planetary thing, you know. Maybe it's like, you know, because I have so much fire in my chart. Who knows? Whatever. But it's something that I'm always working on is my patience.
If you could put one belief in my heart forever, what would it be?
I don't mean this religious, but it's something that I remember that whenever I've been through like really, really horrible things, is that God never puts anything on your shoulders that you can't handle.
Mhm.
So no matter what, all when you know life is tough, and there are times that you don't think you're going to be able to get through it, but you always do. And that's what thing that always got me through things. And like I said, I'm not religious. I mean, I have spiritual beliefs. I do have a spiritual practice, but and I believe that everything that happens is for a reason and it's perfect, even if it's horrible.
What's the one thing you would want others, whether it be mothers, parents, just other people in general, to know about the joys, challenges, and beauty of raising a child who's carving out their own path in the world, as I as I am doing now, or attempting to anyway.
My advice is what you're saying.
Well, just you're I guess, given that I'm turning 34, uh, how does it feel having witnessed the sort of full scope, sort of not full
Full
necessarily, but
scope.
getting there, full scope of witnessing a child grow up? Like, do you have any thoughts about what that experience has been like of witnessing from cradle to current?
It's
Surreal? Is it gratifying?
it,
Is it,
it's all that, and it's scary
yeah,
because you want you wonder what kind of world your child, especially having
yeah.
a queer child. You want to know uh, that the world he's going to be a part of after you're gone is going to be safe. You know, I'm still very protective. Um, so it's beautiful. It's what life is about, I think, for me. Um, but it's also scary, and especially with the times that we live in, it's scary. So it can be stressful.
Well, you're an amazing mom, and I couldn't be more grateful to you for doing this. I
Oh,
love you very, very
love
much.
you,
And
love you.
I thank you for being the coolest mom in the world. I mean that.
Oh,
Thank you.
oh,
Best and coolest mom. I talked about this in the interview I did with Dad, but there's so many qualities that and things that, I think a lot of people, everyone you can't control what circumstances you were born into, and so, but I will
right.
say that I'm grateful that I have parents who taught me about being authentic, about being real, about no, not you and Dad never put on airs. You guys are just real and authentic and loving and big-hearted and not afraid to express, express your love, but also express your
Eccentricities.
eccentricities. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm really
it's an
grateful for.
eccentric family, that's for sure. It's not like a normal family.
No, but in the best possible way.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's so true. I don't think there's a single person that was normal, really, or at least not normal. Everybody's got their own weird,
Things,
thing. Exactly.
they're things. Yeah.
That's a great family, and I thank you, Mom. Thank you for doing this.
Oh,
So
thank you.
happy
I'm lucky
Mother's
to
Day.
have. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day. I was going to you. I guess I was going to
Oh,
say, but thank you for this, and I love you so much.
Love you too. Oh, and to all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you for joining me today on Duke's Download. This podcast is part of Pride House Media, hosted by me, Duke Mason, and produced and edited by Josh Rosenzweig. Original music composed by Nell Balaban. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And while you're there, leave us a rating and review. It really helps others to discover the show. I'd love to stay connected with you, so join the conversation by following me at James Duke Mason on Instagram and X, or by emailing me at questions@dukesdownload.com.